Okay.
Okay, here we go. Huh. All right, so we're still 2 minutes. Hi, and Laura. And we are live and recording on Zoom, but we can't start the meeting until a minimum of 7 o'clock because it's a few minutes away.
Okay.
We need to, since there's a lot of us here, remember to also talk that way because we'll have people on Zoom. So they're part of the meeting. And I always forget, and then I talk to the computer, but I try hard.
Where's the camera?
It's see this little thing that where there's a screen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So as you know, it'll follow the speaker around the room. It is sometimes a little strange. Hi, Marina.
Marina.
Marina, is Steve going to be logging in separate or at all? And you're muted. You're muted.
He's on the road, so he's going to try to phone in.
Okay. That's a solid answer. Let me get a pen. So we will, oh yeah, still another. We could be talking, we just need to understand.
Sure. That's why we're so quiet. We're saving up.
Okay, so it's officially 7 o'clock. And I think since we have a lot of people here already, we may as well convene the meeting. My name is Laura Myers, and I am the chair of UNNC's Planning and Zoning Committee, and also serving as its president. Be nice and last forever, or even very much longer. And I live in Angeles Vista. I've been on the UNNC board for quite some time, and on this committee for even longer than that. So I'm going to share the agenda, and then we will go forward from there. So if you're, are you able to online see the agenda? Yes? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So essentially we'll do a welcome and call to order. That was what I just did. Review our UNNC standing rules for committee stakeholder voting participation, though we may not be voting really on anything tonight, but you never know. And then we do our introductions and voting affirmations and review the agenda. So we're really going to review the agenda right now. So after all of that, we will have general public comments, and that would be on topics which are not on tonight's agenda. And that meaning also excluding anything that's just a follow-up to a previous agenda. So I didn't put SB 79 on this agenda, but we're not speaking about it in general public comments because there is some follow-up that we under public comments we can't discuss. We just can't. So we'll be talking about that later. And then the main chunk of this meeting will be a probably quick review of a new initiative at the city called the Missing Middle LA. And it's a fast-tracked program that they want to get adopted, I think by June, even though there's nothing written yet for an ordinance. And why I think it's relevant besides the general topic of the missing middle is they're going to try and within this effort make design guidelines that are objective for adding of ADUs in HPOZs. So right now it's free for all when you do an ADU in an HPOZ, there's no design that's requirement, so we're going to change the ordinance to allow for that. So that's why that's on tonight's agenda, and then time there, and then we will talk a little bit about a public hearing that is now scheduled for Thursday, December 11th on a CUB request on Jefferson at the Hidden History Museum. And again, though not printed out, SB 79. So I'm going to stop the share and admit David and do the part where I say review the UNNC standing rules for committee stakeholder voting. So I think some of you are brand new to this meeting or brand new to UNNC overall, neighborhood council. So our neighborhood council goes from Pico to Exposition Place. These are some more or less boundaries. Crenshaw on the west, north of the freeway, Normandy on the east. Then it zigzags over to Western. So Western on the east from the 10 freeway to Jefferson, then west on Jefferson, and then south on Arlington to Exposition Place. So it's quite a large area. UNNC is a little different from other neighborhood councils in that we do not appoint members of our committees. We appoint chairs of our committees or co-chairs, even sometimes 3 co-chairs. But for membership, we use our committees to, in effect, outreach to stakeholders. So stakeholders are allowed to, stakeholders being people, define it in a minute, but people who are interested in matters within our boundaries. And a stakeholder may not just participate fully in the discussions, but can actually make a motion and can vote at the committee level. The committee makes recommendations only to the governing board. Our actions are therefore not final, and only the governing board, our elected members, can actually vote in the end. So what is a stakeholder? It is a person who lives, works, maybe owns a property while not living at the property, but owns a property within our boundary, attends church, attends school, is the parent of a child who attends school within our boundaries, and or participates in a bona fide nonprofit 501c3 organization which has a brick and mortar address within the boundaries of UNC. So not just any organization, but there's scores of organizations a person would be involved with to participate. So that's a stakeholder. So I am a stakeholder. Laura Myers, I'm a stakeholder. I live in Angeles Vista, and I do intend, if called to vote tonight.
I'm Colleen. I live in Jefferson Park. I am a stakeholder and I intend to vote.
I'm LB, also live in Jefferson Park. I am a stakeholder and I would probably vote.
I'm Janice Cimbalo. I live in Jefferson Park. I am a stakeholder and I intend to vote.
I'm Eugene Hernandez, live in Jefferson Park, and I'm a stakeholder and intended to vote.
John Powers, I'm a stakeholder as well and live in Jefferson Park.
Thank you. I'm going to just call you as I see you. So Teresa.
Hey everybody, I'm Teresa Masonette. I live in the West Adams Avenues and I'm the chair of the tree committee. And if there's a reason to vote, I think I'll vote tonight.
David.
David Saffer, and I feel left out that the whole other end of my block is there and I'm here on Zoom. But I live in Jefferson Park and I am a stakeholder. Hi guys.
Okay. Marina.
Yes, I'm Marina. I live in Jefferson Park. I'm a stakeholder and I intend to vote.
Michael.
I'm Michael Kimbrough. Can you hear me? I'm not sure. Am I on?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. I live in the Avenues. I'm a UNNC governing board member. And if there's a reason to vote tonight, I will vote.
Okay. And the phone number ending in 273. I don't know who you are.
That's Stephen.
Okay, so he's also muted. I don't know how to fix that.
He might not know how to unmute.
Okay, so he may just be an observer.
Can you hear me?
There he is.
Yes,
Can you
there
hear me?
go. Yes, we can.
Hi. Hi, I'm Steve Peckman. I live in Jefferson Park. I'm a stakeholder. I intend to vote. Thank you.
Let me see if I'm able to change your name. I can. Look at that. Okay, then.
Do we get to vote on what we name him?
Right.
Sorry. Nah. Okay, so anyway, and we have in fact already reviewed the agenda, so let us go to general public comments. And again, this is on anything that's not on tonight's agenda. It doesn't have to be land use, be nice, but anybody? Teresa.
Thank you, Laura. I would just like to apologize to you and to the participants from last 2 weeks ago, our meeting. I was given some erroneous information about the Google document that, the Google folder where we have the documents that need to be uploaded. There was miscommunication. So I just want to apologize to you personally, Laura, because I was a little harsh with you. And then I know I sent out an email, but there are people who participate whose email I do not have. So I want to also apologize to them for having to listen to me rant about my thoughts about the neighborhood council. So, and also that I'm probably going to be on mute.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm just
Apologies.
going to be listening tonight. I will not be able to participate, but I will be listening.
Okay, well, you can participate if you would like, but.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I'm just going to listen. Okay.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have oh, David, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to give you an update from the HPOZ board. That was some good information that we got last night about the composition of the board. It appears that a recommendation has been made for one of our vacant seats. They were conducting a second interview today for the other vacancy. So was it
You might have quorum.
Well, we have quorum, but it might be nice
Vacancy.
to like be able to miss a meeting and still have quorum.
Right.
Which vacancy?
The CD
Which
10, I
vacancy?
think, is the one that was recommended, and the mayor's office, I think, is the one that was being interviewed today.
Okay, thank you.
So do we know the names?
I do not.
Just go back to a prior agenda. It's the same like always.
You said go down to all of the.
I'm sorry, I'm doing a side conversation. Just so sorry about that. So that's good, David. Did they in the report that you guys got last night, did they give a timeline? I heard Steve ask you if they gave you a name, but I'm asking about timeline.
We don't know any names, and that does make sense that they wouldn't be sharing names of candidates before the appointment happens. I anticipate within the next couple of meetings, we should have one, if not both, of our vacant seats filled.
Right,
Apparently,
so
this is happening for all boards across the city, because there's been a big problem with vacancies on a lot of the HPOC boards that have been left unfilled.
so implied in that, the Office of Historic Resources is doing the interviewing on behalf of the mayor and in behalf, in this case, of CD10.
It sounds like it.
Got
Well, they
it.
sent over a candidate. I guess CD10 or the mayor's office can do what they want with that candidate, and
Right.
how they decide to vet them is up to them, I guess.
All right.
So I was under the impression that there was a candidate sitting on the mayor's desk all this time. So I'm surprised to hear that they're interviewing someone new.
Well,
From what I understand, there was a candidate that, because it took so long, withdrew.
I see.
I don't know if that's the same candidate, but we were told that happened.
okay, well, again, we shouldn't have a whole lot of crosstalk during public comments, but thank you. The public comment I was going to make is little news bulletin came out today that Metro is recommending, but they're going to do a final vote December 4, I guess, to withhold all of its funds that were normally set aside for 2026, 2027, and 2028 for open roads. For us, that would be ciclovia in different parts of the county. It's different kinds of events, but where they close the roads and open it, and they're gonna not spend their money, or that's the recommendation on these events, except in association with the FIFA World Soccer and with the 2028 Olympics. So there's obviously a lot of pushback, because that means that people, regular folks who wouldn't necessarily be able to afford to go to the fan festivals for these two events, don't have the benefit for the next 3 years of, basically, for us, ciclovia. So Metro pays for ciclovia. So ciclovia is an organization, but they don't have enough money to close the roads.
So you said if an event is associated with the Olympics, only people who pay can go to that event?
I'm not clear. That's the objection. But that's one of the objections. The other of the objections is simply that these are community events. I mean, there's dozens of them throughout the year, not just here, but in the San Gabriel Valley. I mean, in other words, in the whole. So they're called different things in different of Metro's jurisdiction, and different organizations co-sponsor them. But for us, it's ciclovia. And that essentially would cancel all of ciclovia events for the next 3 years. And well, that's exactly right. I mean, these are good, and for neighborhood councils, they're really also effective outreach events. So that's my this came up suddenly. And so there's not going to be any real opportunity for organizations like a neighborhood council to advocate. Individuals might be able to, but it came up really sudden. There was a vote of some sort today that I don't even know what happened. And anyway, that's my announcement. Are there any other general public comments? Hearing none or seeing none. The missing middle program. So have any of you heard about this missing middle at all?
I have not.
So I think the best thing for me to do is start sharing the screen. And go through the slides as best I can, not being a representative of the planning department. So I want to emphasize, I am the messenger. I am not the author. This is not my presentation, but here we go. So basically, the city is launching a missing middle program, and it's essentially updating the city's zoning code, and they want to encourage smaller for sale housing options, as well as more accessible rental housing in neighborhoods across the city. There's a well-documented shortage of affordable rental housing, which so far doesn't seem to be anything. It's lip service, frankly, because now I digress, but much of the even affordable housing being proposed at this stage is for the higher levels of income affordable housing. By that I mean people earning $85,000 as individuals to 120% of area median. But that said, this missing middle program is designed to create more such opportunities, and there's going to be ordinance updates. So I just want to run through this. So this slide show was prepared by the planning department for a webinar that they held in October that frankly, they didn't publicize it very much. And I certainly wasn't aware of it. I'm usually on top of everything, but that's not to say you just miss it because maybe Halloween and I don't know. But anyway, so I didn't see the program live, and I am just gonna run through the slides if I can. So apparently it's not gonna be that easy. Can't just say, okay. Essentially, maybe we are one of the most unaffordable cities in the US. We have one of the lowest homeownership rates at around 36% and lowest rate of homeownership for younger people in the entire country. And in part, that's because we've not been adding a whole lot of owner-occupied housing. And what they're calling the missing middle. And can you guys see that okay on the screen online on Zoom?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so they're saying that essentially on the left-hand side of their picture, they've got a lot of detached single-family homes. And on the right-hand side of the picture, there's a lot of mid-rise housing. But what's missing in terms of new construction is duplexes side by side and stacked, fourplexes stacked, courtyard buildings. Again, this is new construction. Townhomes, cottage court, whatever, how that's different than a courtyard building. And then medium, multiplex medium and triplex stack and live work is not being built. So what they're basically saying is missing middle in part needs smaller units and sharing a lot. So there's going to be less lot space per unit. And utilizing more cost-effective wood frame construction. I don't know, they probably prepared this before the big fires. And now there's talk about using more concrete for closely aligned structures. Building more ADUs. And in theory, the lower cost would equal more attainable rents. And the missing, oops, so I don't know how to go back. Sorry, missing middle there, making lip service that it also includes people with lower income, but I don't think that any of this would. So missing middle is housing is LA house, meaning historically duplexes, fourplexes, and bungalow courts have accommodated a lot of Angelenos, and are often built like it's this neighborhood. Not so much Jefferson Park, but here in the avenues, you see the bungalow courts interspersed with single family homes, for example. And in LA's HBOZs, 69% of the housing, when you aggregate 31 HBOZs, if that's still the number, but aggregate all the HBOZs together, a little more than 2/3 is multifamily. The state law has been changed to allow new housing opportunities. ADUs can now be sold. There's a law called SB9 that allows duplexes in areas that didn't before allow duplexes, and small lot subdivisions, which they say would create opportunities for more naturally affordable rental and home ownership opportunities. And again, the hope is to integrate this new housing better into existing neighborhoods. And in terms of policy alignment, it responds to the mayor's executive directive number 7. I don't know what that is, and maybe after this quickly going through the slides, if somebody knows what that is, they can tell us. And aligns with the housing goals of our housing. So we have to add 500,000 units by the end of this decade, maybe more than that. It's a lot.
Is that the city or the county?
City of LA has to add. It might be higher than that, 500,000 units. So the relevant state laws, ADU law basically streamlined the building of ADUs and made them more ministerial. And okay, I'm having a little trouble with a way too active. Okay, give me a moment, guys, because I'm having a little trouble going too fast on this and then too slow.
I can read you ED7 if you want. I've got it up.
Good, because that'll take care of my embarrassment at not handling this properly. Go ahead, thank you.
All the fluff, but to get to the meat of it, I hereby order that 1, the Department of City Planning shall report to my office with recommendations to reduce the need for discretionary review of housing projects, including the preparation of draft ordinance to raise the site plan review threshold. The planning department shall consider potential additional criteria or standards, including minimum affordable housing set-asides. The planning department shall also consider the development of additional required objective design standards for these projects, either as part of this draft ordinance or in a separate ordinance, to enhance the city's standard of review for new multifamily housing projects in the city. There's 5 other sections. I don't know if you want me to go through all of them.
But that's interesting. 2 things about that are interesting. One, isn't the site plan review ordinance based on a vote of voters in the city of LA? I think it was years ago. And 2, I mean, you know, they had already raised the threshold. So she's saying site plan review is for, it originally was for projects of 50,000 square feet or greater. We don't see a lot of that around here. And then they've already raised that threshold. So she's saying raise it even more. That was the result of the voter initiative though, so that's interesting. And did you say reduce the set-asides of affordable housing? Is that one of
Add potential additional criteria or standards, including minimal affordable housing set-asides.
So is that another way of saying reduce what's required for affordable housing
I
set-asides?
think so. There's
Wow.
also the other sections deal with streamlining CEQA. So it basically, I think the
State
gist of
took
it is
care
they're
of
trying to
that.
figure out ways of making it faster.
Okay, well, the state took care of streamlining CEQA because it threw it out for fill projects. So there is no CEQA. There's maybe a little CEQA within an HPOZ if somebody's proposing to demolish historic resource.
Oh, when I take it back, there's a 3rd and 4th page too. So there's a lot more sections.
Lots more sections, but okay. But those 2 pieces are a little disturbing, even though the site plan review, I've only seen 1 or 2 of those in my entire time with UNNC, because we don't have those massive projects. Usually Crenshaw Crossing had a site plan review. That's a pretty massive project across 2 lots, and that's Crenshaw. So,
and look how far that's come.
yeah. Okay, so I'm at, oh, here's how we, oh, I don't know how to slide this out of the way anymore. Sorry. Okay, so. State laws. I'm sorry, I'm just having trouble. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Use those arrows to get your cursor off of them once you used it. Okay, so ADUs have been remarkably successful statewide. LA has led the way. Yay for us. They types of ADUs, and that's one of the things we have found annoying. The one we think of is a granny flat. You build it in the backyard. Now you can attach it to the structure. In the USC area, the city has approved some ADUs in front of the structures, which is another annoyance. A JADU is a conversion of up to 500 square feet within the main home. And then this area, I'm going to just see if you can see what I'm doing, circling around conversion. Converted existing space in the main home or on the property, bedroom, basement, detached garage. Issue with that, just so everybody knows, is that we're beginning to see projects where here, I mean, big projects, where they'll say, and we have 7 recreation rooms. It's like, really? But they all have kitchens and bathrooms. And so the rec rooms are future ADUs. And what it does is it removes the rec rooms in the original projects are in lieu of open space that we also think of as yard or top. And so they're putting in recreation spaces within the building, built in the built structure, but they're knowing that they have a future phase where they're going to become ADUs. So, it's a sleight of hand, frankly. Am I sounding a little cynical? This would not be what the planning department would have said at their presentation. Okay. So the local ordinance ADUs must meet certain local objective standards plus state standards. The state law ADUs that can exceed locally approved standards is this thing about conversion of existing space. Anyway, yeah, let's see if we can pull, I don't think I can pull that slide, no. I'm having, oh wait. This thing that can move me again. Here we go. Okay, and the new state law says that ADUs may be sold, which is an odd concept. And it can be sold as a condominium, separate from a primary dwelling. And there we go, I just did that again. Okay, Home Act, SB 9/450. The Home Act allows for two types of development. So basically ministerially, 2 units, even though it's on maybe a single family zoned lot. And it's a lot split, but it usually requires that homeowner has to own or occupy. And it cannot be within an HPOZ or on a state register, or if historic cultural monument is sitting on it. And objective standards can be applied for the design. We haven't seen too many of these, about 90% of those kind of projects, and there haven't been that many. In fact, there have been about 240 such things, and they're mostly in the valley. Starter Home Revitalization Act, I've never even heard of this. And it's, but they're saying permit by right small lot subdivisions in both multifamily zone and single family zone. So a small lot development, you've seen a few around here. There's one up on 27th Street, right below Adams, west of 7th Avenue, where on a single lot are erected townhomes and they don't touch. So condominiums touch, small lot subdivisions don't touch. They kind of look the same to the naked eye, and they're selling these as single family homes on a small lot subdivision. The problem is it's easy to get around the intention. The intention is to create new housing ownership opportunities. But if any of you have followed the issue at Adams and Dalton, right behind the right just east of LaSalle and just east of the Greater Page Temple, there's a small lot development with 10 homes, but each of the 10 homes has 10 bedrooms. And it's really, it's really student housing. So it was a way to be able to build, it's co-housing for students, to build a co-housing development, and it's not going to be sold to 10 different families, each of whom need 10 bedrooms. It's not what's going to happen. So there's nothing in our local law so far that prevent the use, a different use, and not really use as single family homes. Okay, so I don't even understand this. Modeling has informed our understanding of what could be built under state law and how we can shape and refine outcomes through zoning to improve design. And again, I'm going to try and move this little thing out of the way. I don't understand this. Does anyone have an opinion? It's just squishing a bunch of properties together from what I see. So proposed code amendments. They're going to put in place objective design standards, both for small lot ordinance update and the small scale homes amendment. And so that's swell. I mean, better design standards, because right now most of them are straight up and down white buildings. So maybe that won't be allowed, and maybe it will. And these objective design standards just can't conflict with state law. and cannot preclude the new housing. Small scale homes code amendment will involve the ADUs, so updating the 2019 ADU ordinance and also incorporating the Home Act 2-unit provision. So again, Home Act is a version of SB 9. And okay, so what they're doing, and this is where I think we might have some input, is that they're going to allow for sale ADUs, but they have to, the city doesn't have a choice. And streamline permitting, it's pretty darn streamlined already. So I don't know why they're saying that, but they're going to create objective HPOZ design standards for the ADUs. And we can try that through the presentation, but I think that's probably not a terrible thing, because right now someone could say to an Office of Historic Resources, I'm putting in an ADU, and as long as it doesn't involve the demolition of a historic resource in the rear, they're pretty much just like is okay. And so this should make it better, but who's going to create the objective design standards is always the question.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is right now in a historic district, isn't it whatever you build is supposed to not change the historic design from the front?
Right now, because of state laws, whatever you build is up to you. And it can change. I mean, in other words, in University Park, they've had some ADUs built in front of the primary historic resource.
So you can have a historic house with a modern ADU back that's high?
Well, that's in front of it. I mean, just in the front yard,
Right.
like high or low kind of.
I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
high would be worse, but
Right.
even low seems a little bit odd.
It does.
We have them in our HPOZ as well. There's one under construction on 7th Street right now, 7th and 36th. That had a
It's
large
in
front
front
yard.
of-
They're building a 2-story ADU in front of the original house.
Yeah, so I think that objective design standards, the thing is that what the city attorney working with the planning department has said about all the preservation plans, even though some of them are much more objective than others, is that they are more subjective, that every design standard has to be something that no matter who reads it, they come to the same conclusion. And we supposedly have, it's a little more open. And I don't think we all agree that that is correct. I think they haven't wanted to look at all of the preservation plans to see which sentences in these long documents are objective standards, which ones are subjective, and then just edit them. So they haven't wanted to do that. But that all said, if they can create objective design standards for ADUs, that's a good thing. Right now, there are 0 design standards for the ADUs. How far did I screw up while I was talking? How far did I take the slides, if anyone noticed? Oh, not too bad.
Could I say something about HPOZ standards and objective standards?
Well, is it pertinent to the ADUs or?
It's pertinent. Yes, it absolutely is. My understanding from communication with Ken Bernstein is that all HPOZ plans will be adopting new objective standards throughout their plans
Yes, Steve,
next year.
Yes, it's not, we can talk about that after that.
No, I'm not suggesting that we talk about it. I just think it's important for this committee to understand that's not specific to ADUs, that the HPOZ overhaul is happening throughout the plan.
Okay, Steve, what I'm trying to say, and I will, sorry to correct you, there are 2 different efforts. This one, the ADU one, has to do with the missing middle, and it was funded previously. What you're talking about is so new, and I understand, because I've already written an email to Ken Bernstein to have them share it with the neighborhood councils, is so new. They just got a grant from SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, to do exactly what you're saying, but it's so new, they haven't even shared that information with the council offices. They have begun to share that information with the HBOZs without sharing it with the council offices. So that's a different effort toward the same goal. But
It's
this one-
overlapping. It's overlapping.
Okay, can we finish the presentation and talk about this? Is that okay? Think, because we're all getting bored with my presentation since I don't know what I'm talking about anyway. Let's get it off the screen. So again, the Home Act 2-unit developments, TUDs are what they're calling it. And that means you can apparently do a duplex plus an ADU, 2 single-family dwellings plus an ADU. Of course, that's exactly the same difference. Anyway, small lot ordinance update. So as I mentioned, they're going to also give design standards apparently to small lot subdivision ordinance. They're still promoting this as a way to like retain our bungalow courts. But that it's only been applied to a handful of bungalow courts. That involves evicting people. So I'm not sure a lot of us are fond of that idea because they change it to ownership. But do they? I mean, how do they do that? And then if the original idea of the small lot subdivision ordinance was not to create a new type of house typology, I'm objecting to this slide, meaning it wasn't about architecture. It was supposed to be about creating new affordable housing. But most of the small lot subdivision projects in our area have been selling for $1 million. So it doesn't seem that it's quite accomplished the goal unless you think $1 million is a good entry point. And
Laura,
standards,
Well-
yes.
quick question. I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand. That last slide you just showed with the city, where's all the
Yep.
parking? Where's the parking?
I'm sorry.
Where's
Where's-
the parking?
Well, most small lot subdivisions are putting the parking underneath because these are for sale housing. And when you want to sell something, if you're a developer, you want to make sure people who have a car have a place to put their car. So this is not really showing that, but on the ground, all the ones I've ever seen have parking, except of course, conversions of existing bungalow courts.
So it's a small lot,
Well,
but you get a car underneath.
they're not necessarily even that.
No, small car too.
Okay, do you see the center courtyard there?
Yeah.
That would, in a small lot subdivision, the way they were really being built, that's your driveway. It's not really a common area.
Yeah.
It's a driveway.
Okay.
And people, pull into their units, just like any townhome development. There's, in other words, this
Well,
slide.
townhomes don't have the parking lot and the.
No. Well, yeah, but I'm saying, as they are actually being built,
Yeah.
people who are spending the money to develop them, right? I mean, because this is just policy.
Yeah.
But in practical reality of economics, it's hard to sell
It's hard to sell a house without a
parking
park.
space, yes. Just really hard. Obviously, if somebody somehow, be really expensive, somehow got a lot in downtown LA for cheap and decided they want to build 12 townhomes and call it a small lot subdivision so that they don't have to have an HOA or less of an HOA because they each own their own home. They might be able to not do parking in the middle of a downtown if it's near the train stop. I don't know. But it would, I don't know. No one's gonna have the money to buy that lot to develop it. So for the work project, this is describing what they're gonna do on this work project. They're going to rewrite it to create clarity and transparency in the code, update the design standards, address standards that are out of date, and clarify who does what. I feel that UNNC has an opportunity, not necessarily tonight, but to really think about this and write a comment this spring about not allowing co-housing projects if they're going to use this. If a developer wants to use a small lot subdivision ordinance, it should preclude the creation of co-housing. I mean, there are other ordinances that they could write to create. I mean, they could add co-housing to this entire project as a separate slide, essentially. But okay, objective design standards have to be measurable, predictable. I know. And so they're trying to tie the new standards to incentives to achieve desired design policy objectives, such as the preservation of significant and protected trees. Again, a place for UNNC to comment, because I think we want to preserve mature tree canopy and not just individual significant trees. Of open space and public realm, enhancement, walkability, neighborhood scale, and protect designated and surveyed historic resources. So that's key, because actually designated are already protected, but surveyed historic resources are not. So many state laws now are making it very difficult to rely on surveyed historic resources. So if they can add some objectivity about how to include that, that's not a bad thing for those of us who do not live in HPOZs. Okay, so again, they're saying predictability, consistency in the design review process, translated from existing preservation guidelines, supplementing new standards where necessary, reflect the variety of building types and architectural styles found in the LA's historic districts, and establishing clear roles. So this is what I think Stephen might have been talking about, even though previously in this presentation, they're talking about doing this for ADUs. So I don't know. Next steps. Listen to us, fall of 2025. It's gonna be kind of hard since they had one public presentation without much outreach about it. Early winter, so it'd be like January, there'll be an initial, well, it says 2025. So theoretically, like in about 3 weeks, an initial draft. Late winter, a revised draft, noticing there's nothing in there in the middle for public review. And spring 2026, a public hearing. So they're gonna do an initial draft and a revised draft without necessarily hearing from anybody about the initial draft. So again, I think we don't need a vote. UNNC is certainly going to write a note, copy to the council office saying that
there's got to be a public comment period between the initial draft and the revised draft.
Exactly. Some sort of public outreach and transparent, action. And then review and adopt. So methods of engagement, webinars, they've done one, focus groups, really, presentations. So we're going to ask, I guess, maybe for one, maybe for a group of neighborhood councils, so that they're not going to go out to 99 councils. That doesn't seem feasible. And there won't be any sick ideas for them to go out to either, because that's something the planning department will also utilize going out. And there we go, outreach groups. So they're saying neighborhood councils, but don't know. And thank you. So I am going to stop the share. And now, Steve, I know that you and I share some opinions about how to create objective standards and may vary as well on some things, but again, I don't think this missing middle effort is the same one that they were also sharing with the HPOZs, in part because what I saw in the minutes of one of the city's HPOZs, I just happened to see some minutes yesterday, not related to our area, but it was a presentation at an HPOZ and it was in the minutes. They were talking about objective standards for infill projects on commercial corridors. And so it's getting a little confusing because it's so not transparent about what they're doing as to exactly what they're doing. I did already send an email to the Office of Historic Resources and copied several people in Council District 10 to just say, we explain, are you going to present to neighborhood councils? This it's not necessarily a bad thing, but most of the preservation planners, people who had input into the preservation plans, tried to make sure they were about their own communities. So what's good for Stonehurst out in the valley may not be at all relevant to Mar Vista with a mid-century modern HPOC, and certainly not necessarily relevant to Jefferson Park or West Terrace. So it's like, how do you do a one-size-fits-all and not do a one-size-fits-all objective standards? David, did you get a presentation last night at Jefferson Park on this topic?
No, we did not.
In other words, so it's interesting because it's also not, I think they're not necessarily sharing it equally among all HPOCs.
Yeah, we have not had anything about it yet.
Yeah, it's just random that I happen to get a copy of any, substance. So, anyway, this was a lot, and I'm sorry I don't know everything, but do we have any discussion?
Well, just for clarity, then the HBOC, our HBOC, has a plan or is working on a plan to comment on an initial draft, or just a comment that, hey, give us an opportunity to comment on the initial.
Well, you mean the neighborhood council?
Neighborhood council, that's what I meant.
Yeah, because I don't think your HPOC for Jefferson Park,
Yeah,
or the HPOC for West Adams Terrace, or the HPOC for Harvard Heights and Western Heights, I don't know if the board members feel that they're in a position to demand. Although I wish they were. I mean, in other words, nobody wants to get fired off their board either for being rude to their planners.
Well, yeah, but rude to the planners. You can say, can we comment on them?
Yes, they could. Sometimes just asking for things like that is deemed like, oh, that's a troublemaker. And sometimes people are a little nervous about rocking the boat. Whereas I think we at neighborhood council are less nervous about rocking that boat, whereas we might be more nervous about rocking a different boat, like maybe we don't want to go to Plum Planning and Land Use Management, which is City Council, and being very demanding there. We should sound, there we should sound like, we're all in this together, right? So I think, but in this case, it does seem that there's a fast moving to take to impose citywide objective standards on 36 very diverse communities. You can have objective design standards that are also thoughtful and unique to a particular community, because being objective doesn't have anything to do with being consistent across the whole city. I think we need to figure out how UNNC can make that comment in time for a board meeting that'll probably be mid-January for the governing board to approve a letter. So that's not going to come out in tonight's meeting. No. Other than maybe an agreement that we're going to have a future meeting that hits before mid-January of this committee, where we can actually talk about that as an agenda, such a letter. And what do you think, Steve? Steve, do you have any sense of the timing of the thing you had heard about? If you're still with us. Maybe he's not still with us. Okay. Hey, Marina, is Steve at home yet? I mean, you're both muted, so I can't tell if I'm looking at his phone number or looking at the re-logged in Steve. Have we lost both of you? Okay, I think we did. Holly, since you were so involved in the original draft of Jefferson Park,
I was not actually involved in the draft of the preservation plan,
just the survey.
context statement. Yeah, so no, I would agree with you that objective does not need to be cookie cutter. And I think that might be, unless something comes to mind, that would be, I think, an excellent theme for a neighborhood council letter, and letters that have fewer themes are always punchier.
Right.
You know, the more points we make, the more they're diluted. So that might be, unless something else comes up, that might be the point to make.
All right, so again,
I think Steve is.
now he's
Well,
there.
they have, as you indicated, Laura, they have overlapping timelines. It's the same project. It's the one overhaul of the plans. My understanding is there aren't two separate overhauls. There's only one. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, well, obviously imposing objective design standards on ADUs is hardly something that anyone would disagree with, since right now it's so randomized that, you know, there are no design standards. So I don't think we would care about that. I think we would give a thumbs up to that. My concern, and I think we probably would all be concerned, is that there are already objective design guidelines or standards in many, not all, of the preservation plans, and they are different from each other.
Well, how we define objective is a little bit squirrely, because the way they are written now, they are considered by many people to be objective. If the goal is for them to be applicable by a monkey sitting at, you know, their keyboard looking at a project, then we won't need HPOZ boards anymore.
Okay.
So, I mean, you know, they say that they're not objective, but when you go and look at them, they don't necessarily have quantification.
Well,
a lack of quantification does not equal
right. Well,
lack of objectivity.
but there may be, for example, in many HPOZ preservation plans, a standard that says no more than 46% of the lot shall be covered, or may be covered, not shall, may be covered by buildings, and the other percent is open space. That's objective. And they're saying it's not objective if it's encouraged instead of the word shall, but that's just because at the time, everyone was told not to use the word shall in any preservation plan, because they wanted the community members to be able to go to the board and have the discussions and be able to work out something that everyone was happy, so community members would be happy there is an HPOC. So they didn't want to be authoritarian. So but I would say those are easy edits to make them objective. What's subjective would be, you often see a standard that says should be compatible with the character of the adjacent structures in the neighborhood. Well, what the hell does that mean? Different people might say it's compatible if it has the same FAR and the same height, but it doesn't matter what the design. Others would say no, it has to have the same style, architectural style. So that's the example of subjective standards. I don't know how you fix that, because I don't think anyone at an HPOZ wants to say on this block you shall be craftsman style, and on this block you shall be Spanish.
I think the real issue here is that we have the Office of Historic Resources going out and changing things. They haven't even discussed it with the HPOZ, at least in Jefferson Park, and they've made no guarantees of community input. So they're essentially attempting to do this on their own. And I think that needs to be our concern.
At least I think initially, and it might even be worth making a motion tonight to ask the governing board to write a letter asking for a schedule for meetings, a schedule for input, and laying out some initial concerns. Because it's like you said, they want to go fast, and if we miss an opportunity and we're waiting until January to say anything.
Well, the reason, so.
That's right. It'll be too late.
Okay, yes, but I forgot to finish part of my sentence where I said, let me tell you our schedule.
No, that was
Yeah.
I'm looking for.
Yeah, our UNNC schedule.
Yes.
Okay, so this is our mid-November meeting. We are going to have a December 3rd Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, and scheduled at that is the new design for 1638 Bronson, which I know is not in Jefferson Park. And that is because it's speeding headlong. The planning department has stopped slowing it down. They're moving it fast again. There is a new design, and Council District 10 wants UNNC to weigh in, which would have to be on December 4th, which is our governing board, except our governing board meeting is a brief business meeting because it's an in-person meeting here at the South Seas House. It's really our holiday dinner.
So it's really not an action meeting.
Well, it is an action meeting, but let's say 30 minutes. So it's not like we can suddenly start throwing a lot of other things onto the agenda and hoping that we'll actually get through it. It may also be an in-person only meeting or 30 minutes like this, and then we're turning off Zoom and going to dinner.
So I don't understand why we couldn't agree to a letter tonight, draft it, and have it presented in less than 5 minutes to the governing board.
There is no reason why we can't. If that letter is written, approved on December 3rd, not written tonight, we can't sit here and write a letter. But we can approve our draft of it on December 3rd and take it on December 4th. It's just I just can't guarantee that we'll get to every, we're gonna only have like a 30-minute business meeting.
I suggest we give it a try.
And we have another agenda item on tonight, which is,
Yes.
which has to go to the governing board.
No, it
On the
doesn't.
board?
We're done. We're good on that one. We've been authorized to update our letter at the governing. You
So
said that-
they don't need to hear
Executive-
what people's concerns are.
Oh, we have been talking about it at governing board. What do you mean?
Which
So
topic are we talking
I know
our next agenda item is for the Hidden History Museum.
Correct.
And most of the people who are here tonight.
I understand, and we get to discuss and I will listen, but I'm authorized to update our letter, and I just need executive committee to approve it via email.
I see, so it doesn't have to go to the governing board.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So I would
Correct.
like to recommend that this committee agree to draft a letter of recommendation regarding the plans and the need to have community input, including the neighborhood councils, because it is such an aggressive timeline. They're looking to go to the City Planning Commission by June.
Right, and that's on this in particular, but maybe also on the effort that you're talking about.
I think we need to wrap them together.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
It ought not, it should not be the only letter that the neighborhood council writes about this issue. It's just the initial body.
Right, and also a demand, nicely stated, to see
The presentation.
the first draft. Well, also,
yes.
remember they're
Yeah.
doing a first draft and then a
Yes,
second
of
draft,
course, yeah,
but there's
mentioned.
nothing in
It's
the
a-
middle.
The schedule, what the schedule is, yes.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that. I'm just, I'm kind of in charge of agendas, as you understand. And I'm kind of not fully in charge. I'm,
Great.
I'm just the person with the target on the back.
So that's
right?
my motion.
I'll
Okay.
second that motion.
Okay, so what exactly is your motion, Steve? I'm so sorry.
That this committee draft a letter of recommendation to the governing board regarding the importance of community input, including the neighborhood councils, into the drafting of the new plans and the objective standards.
Okay. So specific to whatever aspect of objective standards they are thinking of for our HPOCs.
Yes, and we could include historic cultural monuments and others as well.
I know that Colleen has seconded,
Yes, I second that.
and now I'm gonna tell you what I already wrote to OHR, which was, so why are you not including, one of the things I wrote was, why are you not including state and federal historic districts and the character residential overlay
Great.
districts?
Let's
Which-
include it.
Which are, we're told to the community would be HBOZ light, and which are utilizing Secretary of Interior standards, which are less subjective even than some of the HBOZ. So would you
I
take?
think
a
we're
vote
interested in
again?
historic preservation as opposed to being too specific about plans. All those should be included.
Well, if the state is requiring objective standards, it seems to me it's gonna be really, really hard to just use Secretary of Interior standards, which are federal and very broad.
They're not objective,
They're not objective.
at least not according to our city attorney.
Well, not according to the state laws that have been passed. That's really the issue.
Well, no, it's the local interpretation by each city attorney.
Okay, all right,
I was just saying there's a second.
yeah,
So you accepted Laura's amendment?
I
and-
do.
And I,
thank you.
great,
Okay,
I resecond if I need to. I'm not a Robert's Rules of Order person.
Is there a vote?
Yeah,
I call the motion to vote.
yes, I'm just trying to see if I have, no, I don't know if there is a transcript, but I'm guessing it didn't.
It says this meeting is being transcribed.
No, it is being transcribed, but because I hadn't already launched it, it didn't catch it backwards. So I can't post it, sorry. It's transcribed, but I can't capture it on the screen. So, all right, so do we all know what we're voting for?
Or against.
Or against? No, what we're voting for.
What we're voting on.
The motion that you're going to give us a vote on individually. So all in favor of the motion, please raise either your digital hand or your real hand. Or say I'm in favor if you have no hand digitally to raise. Okay. And now put your hands down, please. Everybody's hand must go down. Marina, let's see if I can, there we go. Is there any opposition? Is there any abstentions? Okay, this motion passes. All right, next item. And also, if you want to hear the whole 2-hour webinar, go back to the agenda. Not what was in the email blast, but the actual agenda that is linked to the UNNC email blast has the link to the Zoom webinar on it. I tried to put it in the e-blast, a MailChimp, and it's just too long of a thing, and it just changed the design. It was horrible. Do it 3 times. So it's not there. Okay, follow up to previous cases. Colleen, you're probably going to take the lead on this. I'm going to share the what am I trying to say? The notice for a public hearing, but if you can tell us what I'm sharing.
Sure.
Thank you. Where am I doing that? What has happened to my screen share? Jeez. Yeah, I found it. I haven't quite found it. No. Okay, here we go.
So this is a notice of public hearing that went out to the neighbors. I got mine on Saturday, so probably was mailed last week. The request is for a conditional use beverage permit for a facility, an existing facility that is located at 2131 West Jefferson, which is between Prescott Court and Arlington on the north side of the street. The request, the name of the facility is the Hidden History Museum. And the request is for alcohol sales, beer and wine, and live entertainment from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. I can tell you that this facility has been open for several years and is already holding events involving amplified music in the rear yard and what appears to be alcohol consumption.
Which may or may not be sales, because we're not invited, so we don't know. Probably they're not giving it away for free, but we don't know.
Well, we do because they advertise on their website that their events are 21 plus and they charge money. So I haven't attended myself, but that's just what we see on the website. They do not have a liquor license as of yet. It was pending as of 3 days ago. And the original application went in 2023.
Okay, so here's, so I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I'm not sure that if you charge for an event and then your drinks are free, that's the same thing as selling individual glasses of wine.
I didn't opine on that.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just saying, I don't know that I don't know that they're doing this yet, is what I'm trying to say. The thing that they're applying for. They're certainly assuming they will get granted this if they're already having the parties with the music in the backyard. And who was it? Was it you? Somebody said, but I like their music, but it is loud at a prior meeting. I mean, just if you like the music or not. Steve, you have your hand up.
So my concern about this project, and we've discussed this museum before, is that it appears to be becoming an event hall plus a museum. And I'm very concerned about using the back courtyard as the part of the event hall with music. It's right on an alley that backs into single family homes on 31st Street. And they're talking about these events going until 2 a.m. It's incredibly disruptive to the community. I don't know that they've done any community outreach with the neighbors about this change, which to me, if they haven't, speaks of total disrespect for the neighbors. I'm actually quite shocked about this because they had talked about museum events like openings at a museum, and now they're talking about all day into the early morning events. I think that's a very different project than what we previously discussed. And to tell you the truth, I have a hard time supporting it.
We have a bunch of the neighbors right here now. None of us had any outreach to us. First we heard of it was the
Notice on
the notice that came in the mail. And also I don't know what they intend to do at 10 in the morning, but they're asking for a license to sell liquor and have loud parties at 10 in the morning when there's the library, right? Childcare right there. So it may not be consistent with those uses either.
Seniors across the street.
Seniors across the street.
Yeah, multiple daycares, seniors across the street, library 2 doors down, park 4 doors down, multiple churches within a certain number of feet. Steve, I don't know if you have it handy, but you had at one time a really nice map that shows the sensitive uses in that area.
I'll get it so everyone can see it.
And I do see a bunch of people on the Zoom have their hand raised while talking.
I understand. So I'm gonna stop the share of, I was just trying to make it big enough to see.
Before you stop sharing,
Yeah.
I think it might be worth drawing attention to the floor plan.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. What did I just do?
We just made it a little bit bigger.
And lost it at the same time.
The floor plan is worth looking at just to kind of give everybody a sense of what the square footage is. It's more or less I believe they're 20 storefront spaces. And you can see along the more or less the bottom of the floor plan, and then it's an L-shaped, that's the bar. So
Is it partly indoors and partly outdoors?
No, the bar itself is 100%.
Oh, you're
indoors.
talking right here.
Yes, that is the
Not
bar.
this L,
No,
this L, two different Ls.
right.
Okay.
Well, this looks like a club. That's a feel of a club.
Definitely not a museum.
It's not what I would call a museum.
You're saying beer and wine sale in conjunction with entertainment with an existing art gallery.
Well, there is no art gallery. That's what I'm confused about, because it's a museum, technically,
Well-
but it's calling itself an art gallery.
Well, what
Right,
is,
some
in your
patrons
view, what's the
They're
difference?
different. They're different. I mean, an art gallery has art, a museum is a museum. I mean, I don't know if there's any differences in the zoning or any differences. in usage.
There isn't, and if you think of museums as something having a quote collection, that's only one kind of museum. Many museums, I mean, there's all kinds of museums, but art museums, some of them actually don't. There went the screen. Oh, okay, Steve is, that's okay. Some museums actually do not have collection, so that they just put up shows, and that would be art shows, which would not be very different than an art gallery, except that a museum would normally be organized as a 501c3 nonprofit. An art gallery is normally a for-profit venture. This is organized as a 501c3 nonprofit. They call themselves a history museum. I've never been inside, so I don't know.
It's never open.
It's
It's never open at all. There's like metal doors that come down. Allegedly, according to the website, it's open from 11 to 4 every day. I don't know anyone in the neighborhood that's ever seen it open. So,
Okay, well, I do know that Rena Rubenstein one time was walking by and it was open and she walked in,
what
but
did she see?
I don't know. I didn't really ever ask her what she saw.
What I walked by many times and it's never. I'm curious.
So I mean, the difference between a museum and an art gallery might be the 501c3 designation.
Right.
And that they want to call it an art gallery, but calling it a museum gets it a nonprofit status. I don't know.
Exactly.
But that's all I can see, and it is advertised as a museum. But I looked through a bunch of websites and all I ever saw were events.
Okay, so we have Donna and Marina with hands up, and Steve, who somehow, without me making him a host, was able to disable, but that's fine. Disable what I had on the screen and put up sensitive uses within 1,000 feet of Century Liquor. So there you have it.
So Century Liquor, just for those of you who aren't
Yeah.
necessarily our close neighbors, is I believe 3 doors to the east of this particular facility. And that is also relevant here, just in the sense of we're already dealing with a situation at Century Liquor where they've massively expanded without getting permission, their footprint of liquor sales. And now this facility also wants to sell liquor with the sensitive uses that I'll stop talking and let Steve talk about.
Which is now circus liquor. It's not circus.
Yes.
Okay, so did Steve have his hand up
No.
before Marina or?
No, my hand's not up.
Okay, so Marina, then Donna is what I'm seeing in the order of hands.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a very interesting video on the Hidden Museum website, which I encourage everybody to listen to. You probably have. But if you sit through the video, which is fairly long, you realize that it's not really a museum. I mean, they have vitrines against the walls and they have posters and stuff, sort of salon style on the walls. But all they talk about is events. And they show them scheduling, dancers, musicians, comedians, and they have they show one of those backdrops like you see at the Oscars where the stars, show up and they talk about how wonderful their events are. It's all they talk about is this events. So it's not a museum. I mean, I'm in the arts and I think I know what a museum looks like and what curators do in a museum. This has nothing to do with museums. It's an event space, and I think they want it from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. because they have auditions. So they want to be able to audition these folks before they choose them for the events. But it's very instructive, very informative, and I highly recommend that you sit through it and watch it, because you'll see that it's not a museum, it is an event space, and they specialize, as I said, in music, dance, and comedy, and that's all I could see in the video.
I think opening at 10 a.m. is less the question for our CUP as alcohol sales
Right,
at 10 a.m.
right. Okay, Donna, you have your hand up.
I think when they came and actually spoke to us, I think they wanted to present one thing and actually are something else entirely. And it's outrageous. I don't know how anybody who lives close to that is willing to allow it to advertise, let alone actually do it. That's my comment.
Okay. So do we have other community comment?
Certainly, I also, John Powers, I also watched the video that you're talking about. In the video, they mentioned a cocktail hour that was happening during their event. And they also mentioned we have large crowds that come here. So I think in their planning, they were only supposed to be like poetry readings, 16 chairs, but it's significantly more than that. And significantly louder than that too.
Yeah, it says on the application 16. Sure.
I think that refers to the number of bar stools.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
but. Okay, Elizabeth. Oh, so she raised her hand, but
David has his hand.
now David has his hand up and Elizabeth disappeared. So David.
I'm here. I'm here. Let me just say that it sounds like there's a whole lot of information we don't know. And also, I think yes, there's more investigation to do before we come down like a ton of bricks. They sound young and full of ideas. Of course, they want to make their business plan work. My question would be, what are their intentions? Are they throwing pasta at the wall and seeing what works for them? What's their intended use? Ultimately, what's their intended sound management? I'm thinking of Recreation Cafe, which also has liquor sales, which also has live music. That's a bit of a busier street, but what did they do? Will this venue have valet parking? Will it use church parking in the area which enriches the area, that enriches the church? And how will it add to the community? I just, I haven't been there. I feel like I can't, rule on this without having gone there.
Okay, so I do need to remind everybody. The UNNC's underlying motion, which is already passed the governing board, was to support this, but totally contingent on it being in compliance with what they presented to us, which obviously sounds like it's not. So the letter will expand on that, and I will reflect on the community comments, but we don't really have an opportunity to rethink and then think it again and think it again with cases. A lot of information has emerged, and I will, in the letter, say all of that. So
here's my question. I don't quite understand how they came to planning and zoning or the neighborhood council in advance of having a public hearing notice out on the table. None of us knew that those of us who are in the area to get a notice, that there was a CUP application on the table, because we weren't noticed.
Right, I think we met with them. We met with them in late January, but I don't remember if it was late January 2025 or late January 2024. I mean, that's.
So you would theoretically say in the letter, we met with you and what you presented to us is the kind of thing we would support.
Well, because that's what we voted on.
Yeah, because
However,
but
yeah.
we see your.
I mean,
your
subsequently,
plan
yes,
and has two
subsequently.
AM and loud music and we do not support
Exactly,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And alcohol sales.
And
No,
alcohol
we did support
And
the
chili.
alcohol. We did support.
But
the
how
alcohol
did it
sale.
come, how did it come to the neighborhood council without having come to the neighbors? So do you see what, we have a procedural issue is I guess
Well, we
what I
don't
would say.
really, because how it came to the neighborhood council is because it was the planning department, when they do it, when anybody applies for anything that's discretionary with the planning department, neighborhood councils, and anyone else who signs up for the notices from the planning department get a copy every 2 weeks of the early notification of application. So we always ask whoever has applied for whatever it is. Could be a variance for an overheight fence. Probably we don't invite them, but we ask them to come, but this one seems so simple. I mean, do you remember, Steve still is, I mean, it just seems so simple in the presentation because it didn't have all of this information we now have.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is that maybe the neighborhood council needs something in its bylaws or something to say that in the situation of the CUP, where there is intended to be notice to neighbors when it's an actual project, that the neighborhood council not weigh in on issues that the neighborhood does not.
Well,
know.
I doubt very much that we will ever do that because we assume that you all sign up for our notices.
Well, I didn't even know this existed.
No, I understand, but I'm sorry, we've been, but I can't imagine.
I don't think this is so much, this is really a city issue. So I think my concern is that the city did not notify us and therefore did not give us the opportunity to be alerted that we ought to be checking in with their neighborhood council.
Okay, but that's a city issue. The city will never alert anybody except for 24 days in advance of whatever, of the hearing. That's the law, 24 days. We do the best we can, but you know, we can't communicate with easily with 40,000 people either. You know, we communicate with anyone who signs up for our e-class, and that's as best we can do.
Well,
Because it's not really
right,
you know.
right, but it's my understanding that I don't know if it was this organization or not that gave some sort of preliminary approval.
We do.
Okay, so how?
But we haven't said anything to the city. They're not moving forward because of anything UNNC has done or not done.
So what did the
Where we
preliminary
found-
approval do?
Well, we didn't know it was this preliminary. We thought that this was a case that was it ended up being put on hold by the planning department. We thought this was a case that was initially scheduled for March or April. So we
Jump
had,
in for a second.
I was
Sure.
gonna say, can the people online that have their hands raised speak at any point?
I just want to make a clarification.
all the ones I had seen.
I just want to make a clarification about UNNC. I think there's a misunderstanding. UNNC doesn't approve any projects. Neither does this committee. All they do is make recommendations to the city. There's no role for this committee or the UNNC to actually approve such a project. I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding here.
Right, and I should also say that I was being almost harassed by the representative, not by the applicant, but by his land use representative to hurry up and provide a letter to the city, hurry up. And it's like, no, we're not gonna do a letter to the city until the hearing is scheduled, just for this very reason. Just for this reason. Okay, David. You're waiting patiently. Then Michael.
Thank you.
I'm
May I
sorry,
make-
Steve, because I thought you just said what you were, I'll call it. It's David.
Can I make the recommendation with the information that's just come to light, that the letter be amended to include at the very minimum that when alcohol sales take place, that the conditions that we asked for at Century Liquor be similarly applied to this business. So the hours of operation that we asked for there, the need for a security guard, all those things that we said Century Liquor needs to provide if they're going to be selling alcohol should be in place to this establishment that sells alcohol.
So 11 p.m.
Secondly, that any alcohol use be restricted to indoor spaces only. And amplified music shall never be allowed in outdoor spaces.
I think maybe let's consider whether amplified, live entertainment does not have to be amplified.
Correct.
So I think that maybe we could suggest that live entertainment includes no amplification.
I agree.
Well, no amplified entertainment.
Can I weigh in?
Okay.
I
Yes.
remember.
I mean, everybody has their,
I remember.
Go ahead.
I remember their presentation very well. I raised a number of objections or questions regarding the facility, and we were assured that the space in the bar area would be used for dance or not or acoustical type music only. There was no use of using the backyard for sound amplification or any of that. I do believe, though, that it could have been the weather that forced them to the exterior backyard for overflow or for additional space. That goes away in the wintertime. Nobody's out there at 2 a.m. playing loud music. I think, David, I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to limit any amplified music under any circumstances, inside or outside. The facility is too small for that. And I questioned whether or not the food would be prepared. And they said, no, food would be brought in and served as an hors d'oeuvre type situation to only augment the use of the facility. And that beer and wine would be sold incidentally, not like a club, but I think that's what they're trying to do, guys. I think they're trying to put this into an event space that becomes a popular gathering spot with a background of a cultural environment. I think they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes, and I think we need to be diligent, and I think we need to limit the use of the facility. That's all.
In which case, I would like to add in, based on what Michael said, that we object to any expansion of the permit to include dancing. This is not a dance club. If they want to have a guitar while they're doing an event, fine. Right. But this is not a dance club.
Right. And or hard liquor for that matter. If it's going to be
well, yeah,
there's no
hard. Yeah, there's
I understand, but we need to make it clear that that's the limit of the alcohol zone.
Anybody bring it?
So I didn't with you.
I obviously have the notes. I just didn't want to pull it out.
Yeah. And just a point of clarification, Michael, thank you for those comments. These events are already happening and have been happening for quite some time. And they do include amplified music in the rear space, which is maybe 20 feet from where I'm trying to sleep. Okay. So just as a point of clarification, this is not theoretical. This is already happening.
Can you say who's talking?
This is Colleen.
Thank you.
There was an event last Saturday night.
Also on Friday afternoon and Saturday night, both.
Steve has been waiting patiently, and I see Donna's hands up again.
So I guess I have a couple points. One is to second Michael and David and Colleen. I think that they've misrepresented when they came to the meeting. We were led to believe it was to work like a museum or gallery opening and not as an event space, which have very different qualities to them. I don't recall them saying that they were going to sell alcohol. I thought, again, it was going to be like a gallery opening. Typically, at a gallery opening, wine is provided, and if you want to pay for something, give them money, that's up to you. Regardless, I think also that needs to be included in the letter is that it's already been turned into an event space.
Correct.
And that the neighbors have complained to the neighborhood council about this.
Yes. So what I will do, of course, is I will, we do have the lovely transcripts in writing of what was said. So I will go back to that to make sure. I don't want to misrepresent that they said we're never gonna sell alcohol if they actually said we are gonna sell alcohol, because I actually have a different memory of that. I think he said this is the sale of alcohol will help support the cultural events.
I agree with that.
But that said, I don't need to remember, I get to read a transcript and it will say whatever it says. So I, that's fine, but
Laura, I hate to keep interrupting, but do we know they're not selling hard liquor? Do we know?
well, we know they're not applying to sell hard liquor, and they're not applying with the city, and they're also not applying with the ABC to sell hard liquor. On the ABC thing, it said beer ... So I think that means beer and wine, which is a different license.
Yes.
Than the other, everything. Hey, Donna.
Laura, they basically said everything besides what they're actually doing. I know Michael was there. I know Steve was there. And I'm sorry, they lied. And I said it that night. They were misrepresented. And Laura, you were thinking, oh, they're going to have poetry readings and they're going to show nice pieces of, or read a book that they found someplace. This is nothing but a bunch of lies with their representative to get their foot in there.
That's right.
And you guys ought to stop them as quickly as they.
I will have a transcript. In fact, I'll have 2 transcripts, one from planning and zoning and one from governing board. And I will check them both and see what it is they said they were going to do. And state your name.
Yeah, Georgiana Streeter. I live a couple blocks away. But just reading this, concur with all the speakers who came before me. But this sounds to me like it's turning into a club. The 2 a.m. sale of liquor, entertainment, which also means area for dancing. Not that I'm dancing, always happy to cut a move, but this sounds like a club that is going to have a lot of people. So that's, to me, that means congestion on Jefferson, lack of parking, rowdiness. I mean, the neighbors are already being impacted on 31st Street. Dance clubs are great, but this isn't the area for it. This is not.
So this is Laura speaking again, and Michael has his hand up, I see. They had said, I do remember this, that they are not going past a certain time, but I don't remember what the time was, but they did tell us they weren't going to go to 2 a.m. So I would question why you have to have requests for 2 a.m.
Well, exactly.
If you have no intention. Mike, but again, it's just such a lovely technology. We got the transcripts. Michael.
I just want to ask one question. Didn't we open this segment with a public hearing notice?
Yes.
Okay, so the actionable item, I guess, is to protest at the public hearing all of our concerns that are being voiced this evening. Am I correct in that?
Okay, for UNNC side of this equation, and while we don't have it in the bylaws, we do have a policy. And the policy is we don't go back and redo our votes, because otherwise we'd be having meetings that go to midnight every single month. So we long since made a decision 2 decades ago that we wouldn't keep revisiting. And the reason we voted so early is because initially this was going to be a quick turnaround hearing. Then the case was put on hold. Best guess is because of there was an ABC situation. So
the ABC application is pending. I don't know why. They won't tell me why.
Right. So because normally we wouldn't have even voted yet.
So is this a CUP hearing, Laura? I'm not clear.
Yes, the CUP hearing is on December 11th.
Okay, so that's
at
the zoning
9:30 in the morning.
Okay. Right.
So and I know we still have hands up, but the most important thing is that the neighbors do the best they can to attend that hearing.
Absolutely.
Whatever UNNC says will pale beside whatever the neighbor says. So it's
That's
the
right.
most important thing. UNC will have turned in its letter in advance, but not significantly in advance because again, the issue with the applicant's representative really wanted a letter because I think they want a letter of support to take with them to say, look, they supported us. So I want to not turn in the letter too far. It's just.
And if I might add one last point, then I'll shut my mouth for sure, promise. Everyone sitting at the table, go to the meeting, torches and pitchforks.
Well, it's go-to on Zoom. So no torches.
Oh, we can't, you can't attend the.
Yeah, this is not an in-person, it's a ZA here.
Oh, that's terrible.
Or good, because more people can attend.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
it's 100% Zoom, it's not hybrid, so that means the sound quality will be good. Unlike some of these other recent meetings where nobody could hear anything at the planning commission, for example. Steve has his hand up again, somebody else does. I have a question here in the room. So Steve, and I don't know who the one other is until Steve.
David was before me.
Oh, David. Oh, David.
I was just going to add, because somebody asked about the parking or brought up parking. I do not believe they have contracted with anybody for parking, to the point that the thrift store or the pawn shop next door has posted large signs in multiple places around their parking lot that says absolutely no museum parking at any time.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay. So that is interesting. And then Steve, your hand's back up.
Yeah, so my question is, and then I have a comment afterwards. Does the UNNC decision allow you to ask Heather Hutt's office for their support of the community? And I'll just say, if it doesn't, then I strongly encourage the community to reach out to Heather Hutt's office and demand that she support the community.
Okay, so that would be Hakeem. I will give everybody, I will put it in the chat and give you guys the email address. I have to go back. I mean, this is so long ago that I actually have to go back and see what we actually voted on.
So if possible.
I brought it back to the neighborhood council. I don't know, was it August? I mean, I brought it back once it started emerging that there were issues, and I was authorized to write a letter expressing all the community concerns and to have it approved by executive. So we're not going to go a third time to governing, because the governing board has already heard maybe not all of this, but a lot of this. So I don't know. I just have to look and see what we actually get.
So it'd be good to look and see, because of course the community can write to CD10, but I think it's high impact for the neighborhood council to make such a request.
Correct. So here's I will say what we cannot do and what we can do and what the community should do. I don't think I can provide a new list of conditions that UNNC is requesting if they're different than the conditions that we had already discussed. But there's absolutely no reason why Jefferson Park United or some other similar entity cannot get together and come up with a list of conditions. I mean, some of the ones are obvious that you guys, that we just talked about. I am not sure for something like this that it's appropriate to say it requires a security guard, because the security guard issue was because security guards are usually imposed on liquor stores for other nuisance uses that have been found to be nuisance uses.
But you're not gonna add any conditions to the neighborhood council's letter anyway. So
What we had, no, there were.
asked for might be different than what.
No, I understand, but I'm also giving you advice because, you want to ask for things that will be done. And the city planning department never puts a condition for a security guard until they've already done a nuisance abatement action and decided not to close down whatever the business is, but instead impose more conditions, including a security guard. So this one doesn't quite yet rise to that level.
I think it would be simpler for us to just request no alcohol sales whatsoever.
You might be.
That would be, I think, more
Right,
simple
but
for
keep
us,
like,
as neighbors.
but again, but what conditions then would you be asking for if you're saying forget the liquor, period? See, it's a problem. It's just a nuance of how the city operates. If you say we will only approve the sale of beer and wine if you do this, this, and this, then those are the conditions they place on the sale. If you're saying no sale, then what conditions are you asking for on the sale?
Well, you can always write, you can always argue in the alternative. So you can always say, this is the request. In the alternative, if you insist on approving it, these are conditions.
Yeah, I'm just saying, be clear if the community comes together with agreed upon. Which I would suggest, that would be a good thing. We did have conditions, I just don't remember that, we certainly didn't have all, the 11 o'clock is probably absolutely something we already voted on. I just will need to be reminded.
And that's interesting too, David, I'm not sure what you remember, but the other liquor store that's owned by the same entity that owns the liquor store now at the corner of Arlington, the one at St. Andrews is not open until 11. And just not that
They open at 11 o'clock at night?
No, they're open, they close at 10.
And they open at 11 in the morning.
And the former Century Liquor, now Circus Liquor, is staying open well past 11.
Got it. Okay, but
they were supposed to close it.
and yet,
Of course they are. They're all a lot of things.
and we digress. I'm just trying to say, we voted on some conditions and those would have been the conditions that had been discussed by them as the ones they wanted, which are already not what's on the hearing notice, just to be clear. So I can, since we voted on them, use them. But I would, as a effective community advocacy, it makes sense for the community to have come together with a list of a more complete list of conditions now that we know exactly what it is they're asking for. We've done this, you guys have done this before. Some of you guys in the room and the Zoom room have done this before. Elizabeth, I know you have your hand up, but again, I'm going to remind you that the governing board is not going to hear this case again. You can still talk. I'm just going to remind you that the governing board is not hearing the case again.
The tone here, pitchforks, torches. I'm not thinking that there's another venue on Jefferson that shows as much investment in success. And I did look at look at the website, and it's exactly what we want in this area. I mean, I think it's absolutely to be praised. So let's give them the criticism sandwich. Absolute praise for what they're doing, for doing it in our community. Then some criticism. We need some changes, and then we will work with you. We want to work with you to solve the problems. Every entity, every entrepreneurial effort involves problem solving. Let's help them solve the problems so that this is an anchor for more businesses, for more wonderful, like poetry readings in our area. We want what we want, but this is what we have, and there's millions. They put millions in this. So I just want to support that investment in our community.
Okay. We don't need to have a crosstalk.
I'm not. I'm just saying it's a different situation. They've misrepresented what they do. So that already is something that makes you kind of say, hey, what's really going on? And from the observance of what the neighbors see, we don't see that museum being operated. So the whole thing is confusing. What they told you isn't what's happening. What we see isn't what's happening.
Yes.
And what's happening is not legal. And so that is also, I think that is what also.
Well, I'm not sure
it's myself, Laura.
It's not yet. We don't know that it's
you don't have to criticize my words. I can speak my words, and you don't need to shut me down or criticize me. What is running events with no conditional use permit is not legal. It is clearly events that are being run there, and that is not legal. They don't have a conditional use permit. And I think that is one of the major concerns here, is that we it's hard to negotiate with someone who is already acting outside of good faith terms.
And I apologize, I thought you were saying the serving of liquor was not legal, and it may well be legal at a museum or art gallery, if they're not charging money for them. So I apologize.
But we'll just make one comment in response to Elizabeth. I think that the letter that you'll compose for the neighborhood council will have some of that, because you know, you met with them, and what they represented to you, you did.
Well,
support.
and as well,
Yeah.
UNNC does encourage
Yeah.
Entrepreneurial efforts along our commercial corridors to activate them. But the problem with this also is he's not activating. As you said, it's closed all the time. It's not open.
Yeah.
And that does not activate. So these are the kinds of things I am able to say.
Yeah.
Because we have policy, established policy as a council. Okay, I'm going to point out we're out of here.
Yeah, I think we beat the horse
Yeah.
to past its demise, and I think I would like to make a motion that we support David, Michael, and Colleen's points in a letter to the city, and that to incorporate those points as much as you can, given the previous approval by the board.
Yeah, so your motion basically is fine with me, but it's a motion about what I put in the letter, not a motion to the board.
Right, it's in the letter to
I don't know
the
that-
city.
I have written, can you see this? Lots and lots of notes.
Great.
I don't think you need a motion for it. I've got, and I'm gonna read all the transcripts, so,
Great.
no, I'm, again, you.
So if we
don't-
need a motion, that's the motion.
Yeah. Well,
Tell
because
me a second, something else. Second.
you're just telling me what to do. You've already told me what to do. I mean, it's okay. But I would encourage each and every one of you, and whether you want to use the rubric of Jefferson Park United or another one, I think you need to have the community is asking for this and have it be that you do write letters. Now, on that notice, now I'm gonna pull the notice back up. Sorry, guys.
Who should we write the letters to?
That's what I'm gonna pull.
It is, okay.
Yes. So what you wanna do is send your emails, hang on, I have to get this a little lower, to whom? Ugh.
Scroll back up. I think you are.
No, I
you
got
had
it
it
there.
on the earlier page.
Contact
Yeah,
information.
okay, Alexander Truong, Truong. So the way the city
Okay.
emails work is always the first name, almost always the first name, period, the last name. So alexander.truong@lacity.org. And if you wait till a couple of days before the hearing, and you go on the city planning department's own website, and over on there's the whole top of it on the left-hand side, sort of like about the department. If you pull down that piece of the menu, it includes the hearings. And once they have the actual agenda posted for this hearing, you will know who the zoning administrator is that's assigned to the case. Because Alexander's the staff person. And you might want to wait till 2 days before, 3 days, wait till that, so that you can address your email, not just to Alexander, it has to go to Alexander, but to whoever the hearing officer also is. But you guys should, I think, have a consistent message as to the conditions that you want.
Is it better to write separate letters or to have one letter and have a bunch of people sign it?
No, separate letters. Okay. Separate letters. And your own, not boilerplate.
It's not blown.
Yeah,
You could read what we want to say, but everybody will write their own letter and it all
Right.
comes out.
yeah, just say, I live at,
I can.
this
share
is
the
my
parts.
experience.
Yeah.
I've been in the neighborhood for this long. I would love that there be a great museum, but this ain't it. I mean, whatever you want to write. But it should be real letters, not just copy paste.
Yeah, as soon as they start seeing the same words over and over and over again, they get dismissed.
Yeah, right. But also, and again, you may not all agree on conditions. I mean, there may be different thoughts on those conditions. And then also, to Elizabeth's point, they will listen more to you if you sound encouraging and that you want to see great businesses, you want to see people succeed. I mean, the message he was giving us, the applicant, not the land use guy, was that he needed to have the ability to sell alcohol to help this whole idea, his concept succeed. But I think we got a little, bamboozled, like what is the concept? The notion being hidden history, that's the history of African Americans. So if you go elsewhere on his website, that's really, he's talking about the hidden history. Same thing a lot of us who do historic research talk about these days, because especially these days.
When was the last time you looked at the website?
Obviously more than a year ago. I'm just saying. But he may have two websites. I mean, I may have looked at his organization. But the point I'm trying to make is, as a concept, revealing the hidden history of African Americans that people don't focus on is even more relevant today than it was a year ago when I would have looked for it, because of everything that is being hidden away.
I think I speak for the entire community when I say that everyone was very excited when this facility moved to the neighborhood.
Right. So I think that's the tone of the letters, I think, would be more effective. And again, I'm saying to Elizabeth's point, be encouraging and that kind of tone, rather than, who said pitchforks?
I did.
Yeah.
Having represented a number of clients in CUP hearings, the neighbors come out in force and they're not in favor of my client. I've seen that happen. So
Right.
I'm looking at.
But they don't get listened to as much if they don't have a effective idea.
Yes and no. It depends on whether or not the land use is viable. But I'm looking at the participation at this meeting as opposed to what we normally have. And clearly the neighborhood is concerned. And maybe I overstated, and to Elizabeth's point, you're absolutely right. But I was thinking a moment ago, and I said to myself, perhaps the economics are overwhelming his concept. And in order to stay in business and keep the space and pay the rent, he may occasionally have to do an event that you are now objecting to.
Right. But one of the things is, how many events? He hasn't said how many, and that's the question.
Daily.
No.
10 a.m. to 2 a.m. We can't, we can only go by what it says in this application as far as what we comment on and what they are asking for.
But you can ask questions, of the zoning administrator. And in other words, if the reason that he's asking for daily and these hours and blah, 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 is because his land use rep said that's the only way you can apply for it. I don't know that you're allowed to apply for weekends only. When I say I don't know, I mean, I actually do not know. So there may be a nuance in how these applications are done, but the zoning administrator has within his or her power, their job is to put, if they're going to say yes, put conditions.
But here's the, once we have conditions, we don't have any way to enforce them. So I think it's a very slippery slope. We have conditions at Century Liquor, which is now Circus Liquor, which is a change they made against their conditions. No one is enforcing their conditions.
Well,
so
and no one
to be very careful.
Have they been approved yet?
No,
they're just doing it.
Yes,
they're things. So the other thing for sure, I will put in our letter because it's standard for us, is a 1-year review request.
Good point.
Well, that's standing.
Yeah.
For us, in terms of what UNNC requests on something like this, so, I mean, I am not. I can't tell you guys what to do, I can only tell you my many years of experience dealing with the planning department decision making. It's easier for them to do a lot of conditions than to simply say. So if you, and it's certainly easier if you've queued up the zoning administrator with your question saying, well, how many such events are they gonna do in a year? To make sure the zoning administrator actually asks that question, himself or herself, you know, hey, what's your real plan? Not what's your general application, but how many events the neighborhood wants to know, how many events, I wanna know that too. And that would be typically what the zoning administrator would do if he or she hears that enough. We gotta go. It's been a lively meeting, guys. We gotta go. I'm just going to say for the record, there are a lot of SB 79 updates, and Steve and I will talk about them offline and have those updates ready for our December 3rd meeting. Okay, and I'm going